Welcome to CareHero Podcast, where our mission is to educate, motivate, and inspire nurses and other healthcare professionals. In each episode, we explore how our guests successfully advance their careers and improve the lives of their patients and residents. We share practical tips and success stories to illustrate how you, our care heroes, can grow in your own personal and professional lives.
Hey there, Care Heroes. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of CareHero Podcast. I'm your host, Martin Hoy.
And I'm Gerard Hernandez. We've got another special guest coming for today's episode.
Yep, we have Maggie Macri, a forensic nurse hailing from the live music capital of the world, Austin, Texas.
That's right. She's also a warm and passionate healthcare professional and a very active member in her community.
And Maggie has an incredible story and great life learnings to share, including the importance of doing hard work, the significance of having good people around you, to always look for opportunities of growth, and to embrace moments outside of your comfort zone.
Sounds awesome, Martin. Let's go. Maggie, welcome to the show.
Thank you for inviting me. It's great to be here.
Terrific. All right. As a tradition, we always like to start off the show with this question. All of our care heroes, including yourself, are superheroes. But if you had to choose one superpower, what would that be and why?
I would definitely pick Eliza Thornberry's superpower, the ability to talk to animals. I am just a huge animal person, and it would be awesome to have conversations with them instead of me just talking to them myself.
So Maggie, from the start of your career and even before as a student, you've shown your passion for nursing and healthcare. Could you tell us a little bit more about your life story, your background, and how you got into healthcare?
Sure. I grew up in upstate New York, and I have a younger sister, 2 parents. Grew up pretty normal, middle-class life, and I have always been a fan of volunteering. I always like to be busy. One of the things that I got busy with, especially in high school, was volunteering at cancer walks and Relay for Life and things like that. I guess it kind of got me into where I was in college. I'm more involved in healthcare, kind of working in hospitals or volunteering in hospitals, opened my eyes to all the possibilities that I could take advantage of while I was in college and then what I wanted my profession to be later on.
You studied at Stony Brook in Long Island, right?
Yeah, I went to college, in 2008, I started college at Stony Brook University on Long Island. And I was there for 5 years. I was one of those people who couldn't decide what major they wanted to be and what they wanted to do when I first started. I love being a sea wolf. It's probably one of the things I identify most with is college alma mater. So yeah, I had an amazing time in school, and I wish sometimes I could go back and spend a week there.
Great school. And you ended up working, your first job was out of Stony Brook Medical Center, is that right?
Yeah. Stony Brook is a huge campus, and also we're lucky enough to have a health sciences center as well as its own medical center. Really, really enjoyed that I got to transition from college, which was right across the street from the medical center.
And so currently you're a forensic nurse at Safe Alliance. Can you tell us a little bit more about your role and what you do?
Yeah. So I started out in oncology when I first graduated school, which is where I thought I would be for my entire nursing career. But my husband got a job opportunity in Austin. And so I was thinking I'll just stick with oncology when I get here and apply for those jobs. And I did for a little while. And then I noticed that I really wanted to change. And forensic nursing is very different from any other type of nursing. But I had always been interested in working in the community and doing something outside of the hospital. So I saw a job posting one day and I was like, you know what? Let me just apply, see what it's all about. So Safe Alliance is a nonprofit agency in Austin. It's been around for a long time. It was the original rape crisis center here. My boss started a clinic. So a lot of forensic exams are done in emergency rooms across the country. Whereas our nonprofit is great enough to have this clinic on our campus. Everything we provide is free and no cost. And the wonderful thing about being partnered with Safe Alliance while we're doing these exams is that they offer so many great resources like counseling and legal services for the patients that we're seeing. So we're able to refer them out just in our agency.
Wow, that's wonderful to hear. I know we're going to dive in here into what exactly that entails for you daily.
Yeah, and that's right. Maggie, could you tell us about an exciting day you've had at work?
The best days that I have at my job are when patients are really thankful that our organization exists, and you can tell a difference from the first step when they come in to them being really upset and really traumatized to when they're leaving and having a smile on their face and just grateful that we were there to take care of them. Those are the best days that I have at work.
Describe in your words what forensic nursing is.
Forensic nursing incorporates a lot of things, and that includes sexual assault nurse examiners, which is what I am. So my job as a forensic nurse is to respond to anyone who's been sexually assaulted in Travis County, which is the county that Austin's in, or a couple others outside of Travis County. And basically we coordinate forensic exams. So basically we'll get called by law enforcement, or sometimes a patient will call through our hotline, and we kind of talk through their options. Depending on what they decide, they can come and meet us at our clinic, and we provide medical care, prophylaxis, as well as the option of getting evidence collected, which is just swabs up and down their body.
It sounds like they're coming in quite traumatized, and that you're kind of there to both provide medical and social support.
Yeah, exactly. We do exams within 5 days of someone being sexually assaulted. Basically, when they come in, we want to give them options, and our goal is to give them the control back that they lost during that trauma they experienced.
So what other types of professionals do you work with in your role? I'd imagine that there's all sorts of other services you might provide to someone who's been a victim of potential crime.
Yeah. So, we work with law enforcement, who also has something called victim services, which are social workers who work with law enforcement. Every exam, we have advocates with us. The advocates in the state of Texas are confidential, and they're there to offer support and also offer resources like counseling to the survivors. They have a wealth of knowledge about the laws in Travis County and what we can offer and help in regards to safety planning or shelter. We also have the advocate there who is incredibly helpful. It makes our job a million times easier when we can focus on the patient and they can focus on the patient's other outside needs.
What do you love most about your role and your ability to help these patients?
Well, I hate that we have to exist, but I'm also really glad that we exist, because the environment of our clinic is so much better than the environment of the hospital. Being able to just have that one-on-one time that you wouldn't necessarily have as an emergency room nurse, to talk with the patient and provide them the support and give them the control to take breaks and process what has happened. That has been a really wonderful part of this job. You're focused 100% on one person and making sure they feel heard and they feel listened to, and that you're caring for them in the best way possible.
Absolutely. And that you've developed that skill set, and they know that when they're coming to you, you're experienced in that. Whereas, they could go into an emergency room and they're not going to necessarily see the same caliber professional such as yourself.
We're not going to make you repeat a story a million times. We're not going to make you do things that you're uncomfortable with. We're all about whatever a sexual assault survivor wants to do, which is really wonderful.
It must be emotionally and physically taxing on you and other providers in your clinic. How do you stay mentally, physically healthy, especially working with patient population that has experienced such pain?
Yeah, there's definitely a high turnover for forensic nursing. There are not that many forensic nurses in the country. I guess I see it as more of an optimistic thing when I'm working with patients, that I try to be the provider that I would want in a traumatic situation. It can be really heavy. Some of the stories that we hear are really scary, and it does affect me in my day-to-day life. Walking at dusk or going out with my husband, it can definitely mess with your mind. But thankfully, talking to coworkers about what you're feeling and how it's impacting your life can be incredibly helpful and validating. And then also therapy. I'm a big fan of therapy for everyone.
What's the biggest challenge you have with your current role, and how do you overcome it?
I guess sometimes I feel a little frustrated because going from working in a hospital to working in a community-based clinic, you're working with other agencies like law enforcement, can be really frustrating because you're not just focused on the medical aspect and the clinical aspect of the patient, you're also focused on the criminal justice aspect. Working with the criminal justice system has been eye-opening. It has not only frustrated me, but I can't imagine someone who has been assaulted having to deal with the number of things they have to go through in order to seek whatever kind of justice they are looking for. So a lot of our work, the way we do exams, the things we have to do, the amount of time we have to do exams, like 5 days, that's all based on statutes and laws. And so it's very different from working in a hospital, right? We're working with doctor's orders and things that you're really familiar with. Whereas here, there's so much based on legislation, and we're constantly trying to change legislation so that we are giving survivors more control and making things easier for them. And that can be very challenging and very frustrating and incredibly slow.
I'm actually an attorney by training, and I know a lot of folks who work in the space, especially where I went train in Canada. Half of what they do is trying to change the law in order to make it a more favorable environment for survivors. So it's a slow and arduous process, but I think we're making progress in most places. So hopefully that's something to be hopeful about.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely hopeful about it. It's just one of the frustrating things about working in this field is how slow small changes take.
You're talking about learning something completely different, like from a hospital setting to where you are at now. So speaking of that, like, how do you continue to learn in your current role?
Well, I do a ton more webinars than I ever did in the hospital. I also love to question law enforcement or DAs when I get the chance, just to check in, see what their roles are like and how my role impacts theirs and theirs impacts mine. So that has been really cool, being able to work with other community agencies. I also love school. I love going to school. I hope to go back to school again. And so I just kind of look for opportunities to take an extra webinar or go visit a clinic and see what they're doing there and things like that.
Yeah, I think it's really good advice for our CareHero listeners, that we have the opportunity to learn from individuals you connect with that are not exactly, not what you're doing. It's a good opportunity to talk to them and learn something that could help you in your own role. That's fantastic.
Yeah, and it also gives me a totally different perspective because they say things that I would have never thought of. And that just makes me more knowledgeable and a better nurse.
And Maggie, we also want to congratulate you on all the awards you've received for your contributions in healthcare. And you became a national recipient of the Cherokee Inspired Comfort Award and Grand Prize winner. So congrats to you. And what does it take to achieve an award like this? And what does it mean to you?
It was really exciting and surprising that I won that award. I was not a nurse yet when I won that award. I think I was the student nurse. Basically, I did a lot of volunteer work and just things that I genuinely enjoy doing and am passionate about. And someone nominated me for that, which was really kind and nice of them.
You've also been a very active member of your community throughout your entire student and professional life. Could you tell us a little bit more about some of that service that you've done?
Yeah. So in college, I always was in clubs or involved in making something happen. One of the things that got me into bone marrow transplant when I first started nursing was I knew someone who had received a bone marrow transplant, and we created, it may still be the biggest registry event on our campus, which was really awesome. And really, it felt really great to be able to do that and introduce a lot of students to something they didn't know about. Once I graduated nursing school, I did something called 4K for Cancer through the Ullman Fund, which is a fund that raises money for young adults who have cancer. And so I just signed up for 2.5 months to bike from Baltimore, Maryland to San Diego, California with a lot of strangers. And we were able to raise quite a bit of money that year. Yeah, it was a really awesome experience. And when I was growing up, I was a really shy kid. I hated change. And when I got to college, I was like, nope, that's not going to be me anymore. It was a really, really wonderful experience. And I got to meet a lot of great people, and some I'm still friends with.
all those volunteer opportunities, all those initiatives that you took upon yourself to start, how do you think all that stuff shaped your career as a nurse?
Honestly, I didn't know I wanted to become a nurse until I started volunteering and seeing what other healthcare professionals were doing, but more importantly, what other patients were doing. I got to meet a lot of patients through my volunteer work and see how volunteering impacted our jobs, or as volunteers impacted their lives. And I also am a big fan of talking to people. And as a nurse, that's something that I could do, which I definitely did with a transplant. And now I get to do that here. I think other people go into nursing for other reasons. They might not want to be talking to patients all the time. But I found that as like probably the most impactful thing for me was being able to talk to patients, whether they were getting like their chemo treatments or whatnot, and having that opportunity and realizing like, oh, you know what, I could do this and also be a nurse too.
We saw some reports online about how you hosted a romantic dinner for oncology patients back at Stony Brook. And then you also, I believe, organized a wedding at the hospital's chapel for one of your patients. Could you tell us more about that and how you came up with those ideas?
With transplant patients, you get to know them really well because they're on the floor for a long time, unfortunately. You can see when people are getting really bummed out because they're kind of stuck in a room for a long period of time, getting poked and prodded and woken up in the middle of the night every night for, a month or two on end. One thing that I wanted to bring to the unit was making sure that they were, well, one, entertained, but also knew that we were there for them. We supported them. We wanted them to find some hope in like a really unfortunate situation. So I had one specific patient. I knew that he was feeling really down. I had known him for probably over a year at that point. There was a chaplain on our floor. And one day I just went up to her and I said, you know what, we should surprise this patient with a nice dinner. And so I got with his wife and talked to her about it. And we were able to order him, I think, a grandma's pizza, which people from New York would know, and some pasta, and make like one of our med cart things into a table and chairs. And he was a big Jimmy Buffett fan. So we put on some Jimmy Buffett music. And he was so thankful and so surprised. He got to have an hour or an hour and a half to kind of feel normal, to have a normal date night with his wife. It was really awesome. And so after that, we started doing it more often, especially for people who had just gotten a transplant and their counts were coming back up and they were just waiting to go home and just getting like really bummed out that they were still in the hospital. So we're doing it a lot more frequently, and we were able to get like the cafeteria involved, and the chefs in the cafeteria were like super excited to make all these fancy dinners. Yeah. So it became a lot of fun for us and a lot of fun for patients. They knew about date nights, so they look forward to their own date nights.
So meaningful. I mean, you're trying to get a little bit of normalcy in what's otherwise a tough situation. We can all empathize to somewhat given the last year of the COVID pandemic, but yeah, that's fantastic. I also want to talk about Camp Kesem because I believe that you started that back in 2014. Could you tell us about that?
Yeah, so my friend and I applied for a Livestrong grant for starting a camp at Stony Brook University right before I graduated in 2013. So we were awarded the grant. I will take no credit for creating the camp in 2014. That is all the college students who were involved. I was just lucky enough to be able to get the ball rolling with one of my really great friends.
So it's a week-long summer camp for children facing a parent's cancer diagnosis. Is that right?
Yes, it's a very unique population of kids. It's for kids whose parents have had cancer, have passed away from cancer, or guardians who've had cancer. It's just an absolute magical place. I have been going back to camp as their camp nurse since it started in 2014. Unfortunately, this summer was skipped because of the pandemic, but it is something that I look forward to every single year. They're like the most welcoming, big, warm, incredible family ever. Even though each year it's new counselors, it still has that amazing vibe since the first year we started it.
It must be so rewarding for those children as well who just have gone through so much and are now finally in a place where they can talk to other people about it who share those experiences.
It's incredible. You'll have a kid who comes in who, their parent will describe as shy and has been really withdrawn. And by the end of camp, they're in the middle starting camp songs, and it just warms your heart. And it's just an incredible environment for them to be in for a week and share experiences that all of the other kids at camp may have gone through that the kids at their school or in their neighborhood might not have gone through. And I encourage any of the nurses out there listening. Camp Keston's always looking for nurses, and there are chapters across the country to apply to become a nurse there. It's stressful. You have a lot of patience, but it is incredible and so rewarding and just filled with the best kids on the planet.
You seem to have played upon your strengths, your strength of talking to people and connecting with folks to try to improve on other parts that you've identified. You were shy in some ways, you mentioned. So could you tell us, how did you get to come to those realizations, and what other factors do you attribute to your success as a nursing professional, especially factors other than education?
As a kid, I was always really shy. I mean, I hated changing schools. There was some point where I was like, I'm not going to be able to achieve a lot of my goals if I'm so scared of change. As soon as I got to college, I made it my mission to make sure that I was trying new things. I was meeting new people, doing things I normally would not have done. I usually was on the safer end of things, what I knew best. But when I got to college, I just kind of made a promise to myself that I would step outside of my comfort zone a lot. And I think that, within the first year or two of really pushing myself to try new things and take advantage of opportunities, I realized how powerful it could be and how my goals in life shifted a lot because of it. I've always been a big fan of school. I love school, but I think that I've had several mentors in college that have seen something else that I haven't seen in me. And they really helped me grow as a person and give me those opportunities that'll let me see myself as doing something else. Like I had one mentor, Linda, who I met at a volunteer opportunity, who always would push me to try something new or talk to someone else. She's really an amazing person. And I would say that Linda helping me through college and having like these other professors or advisors or other people who spent the time to sit down and talk to me or saw some potential that I didn't see, that has really kind of shaped me into who I am today. I think back on it all the time now. Like, how did I go from this person who hated going to a different class in high school to someone who would move thousands of miles from home now? And I have to say, like, I pushed myself to change, but I also think having that support from people I didn't expect was also a huge part of how I got to where I am today.
Yeah, it sounds like you've been able to find some really key people in your life to help propel you to some real growth in your professional and personal lives. So it's great to hear that. How did you find those mentors? I'm always curious to know, because everyone, that's a pretty consistent thing we hear from our guests on CareHero Podcast. But it's interesting to see where these people come from.
I would say through going to, for instance, my mentor, Linda, I met her by volunteering at some cancer center events. And it's not necessarily that a mentor finds you. You have to find a mentor. That person seems like they want to help me. So maybe I can sit down with them and ask them some questions. And then it turns into like this really wonderful relationship that you don't necessarily expect, but that's what comes out of it. Because you've said, well, this person's really cool. They've done a lot of cool things. They seem interested in talking to me. So let me take advantage of that.
And Maggie, what's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
You can do anything in a 12-hour shift. When I was working on the transplant floor, there was a more seasoned nurse there. And there were days where, every nurse experiences it. You're feeling like you're drowning, like it's never going to end. You just want to cry. She would say, you can do anything in a 12-hour shift. I would just like repeat that in my head during my shift, especially when things were going not great. And I would be like, okay, 6 hours left. I can do this. Like, I'm going to get through it. I'm going to be okay. You're not going to be here all day. You're not going to be here all night. You're not going to be here forever. It's going to be different tomorrow. You're going to get through today and it's going to be okay. And it's just nice to hear that it's going to be okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes all you need is just that reassurance. So Maggie, what's the most important thing you've learned in your career?
Switching from oncology to forensic nursing, I did not realize the impact that trauma has on people, their emotions, and their brain. And I guess that before I started forensic nursing, and I think this is a pretty common thought for a lot of people, is that a trauma is like getting into a car accident or breaking your leg or things like that. Being a forensic nurse, I've learned that trauma is so much more than that. And if I could go back in my nursing career in nursing school and have been taught more about trauma-informed care, I think it would have made me a much better nurse when I first started out, understanding like the different trauma responses people have, the fact that they're not making memories when you're talking to them right after a horrible trauma, and that everyone experiences trauma differently. I experienced this personally when my mom was diagnosed with cancer, and I was in the room when the nurse practitioner had told her. I think back on all the times that I was in the room for a patient, and it was the first time they were hearing that they had cancer. And then myself and the providers would go into like this long spiel about what was next, what's the next treatment. And now I realize they probably have no memory of any of that at all. They just have a memory of, oh my gosh, I have cancer, and just in absolute shock. And so that is the most important thing that I have learned more recently. And it has definitely made me a much better nurse.
You know, I think it's great to get that feedback about learning more about dealing with trauma in school, because, you know, we do have a lot of nurse educators that have come on the show, and hopefully some of them are listening and can take some of that into their curricula. If you could do anything to improve healthcare in America, what would you do? I know that's a big question.
Well, I would make it available to everyone if I could. But I would honestly, off of my answer before, I would want there to be more discussion about trauma-informed care throughout all of health services.
And what about forensic nursing in particular? Is there anything about the specific work that you do that you think could be improved, whether that's in your county or across the country?
Yeah, I think that especially in the emergency rooms across the country, that when a sexual assault survivor comes in, providers think that you can't touch them. Evidence is number one. And I would say, no, you have such a huge impact on that survivor's mental and physical well-being for the next, however many years. You can be a very healing presence for someone who comes in after a sexual assault. There's a lot of movies and podcasts and everything about crime. And so they're very fixated on the evidence portion and forget that this is an actual person in front of you who is just more than evidence, and they're requiring more care than that. And so making sure that you're responding in a way that's healing to them and that you're giving them the options that you can.
And so you get to travel to the future. And what does the future of nursing look like in forensic nursing?
At least at my clinic, I would love to have a full clinic working where we can do follow-up care for patients at no cost, do labs, do scans if they need it. I'd also love to be more involved in survivors of domestic violence and caring for them long-term. Right now, there aren't that many healthcare options for them. So having a clinic that would be a safe place for them to come and get care would be really awesome.
Do you have any final thoughts or advice for our care heroes, Maggie?
Take advantage of opportunities. And if you feel like it's the right time to change, nursing can take you so many places, and just, take advantage of those opportunities, because you never know what else you can learn and what else you can do in your life.
What a fantastic episode with Maggie. You can tell that her heart truly belongs in healthcare.
Yeah, Martin, and it's so great to hear stories like hers and knowing how much of an impact you could make even so early in your career.
Now it's that time again, folks. Time for the handover.
Alrighty, Care Heroes, here are our top takeaways from this episode. Don't be afraid to do hard work. It often leads to amazing results that you can be proud of at the end. Surround yourself with a good support system that you can lean on and turn to. Remember, there's nothing wrong with seeking help from others. Always look for opportunities to expand your knowledge and grow in your career. And last but not least, embrace moments that put you outside of your comfort zone. Take chances, meet new people, and be open to new experiences.
Another terrific handover, Martin. We also want to thank our Care Heroes for listening, and don't forget to rate our podcast on your favorite podcast app. If you want a shout out on a future episode, just visit CareHeroPodcast.com, go to the Contact Us page, and submit your name, role, and location for a shout out in a future episode.
That's right, Gerard. We want to give a shout out to Leslie, certified nursing assistant from Washington, D.C., Ashawn, licensed practical nurse from Tampa Bay, Florida, and Lupe, therapist from Austin, Texas.
Okay, Care Heroes, thanks again for joining us on the show. We'll be back soon for the next one. Same Care Hero time, same Care Hero channel.
Thanks for listening to Care Hero Podcast. Don't miss out on future content. Hit subscribe and rate us in your favorite podcast app. Also, remember to visit us at CareHeroPodcast.com to send us your feedback, sign up for the newsletter, and nominate a Care Hero to be interviewed on a future episode.